Hey, what's up guys, Rip here. So today we're going to be talking about the chaotic release of Oblivion Remastered. Now as you can see, the numbers are great. I don't think anybody is surprised by this given the success of the franchise and this particular game. The remaster was a welcome surprise that seemingly fell out of the sky with pretty much no warning, so people are taken by surprise by this, but are definitely very happy with the results. And as you can see, comparing it to recent AAA releases, absolutely crushing games like Dragon Age the Veilguard, crushing games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that really shows just how powerful this original game is and its remaster as a result, and also the fact that nostalgia can play a very powerful role in the success of a game if you allow it to. However, there hasn't been an absence of controversies. Really, the major one here is this change to the design of your character, going from typical gender options with male or female in the original game, now moving over to body type options with type 1 and type 2. Now, is this enough to derail the success of this game? Absolutely not. Clearly the game, its remaster, is doing really well, but this is something worth talking about because a lot of people don't like seeing this, and also the amount of chaos that would spin out of this is definitely worth looking at. So, as we've talked about before, it seems like an obvious choice to go with male or female options with your game. After all, as you can see, Mark Tyminski here, the creator of Lords of the Fallen, used to use Type A and Type B, but then said, hey, what do you guys actually want? Vote on this and we will follow through with the results. And as you can see, after 50,000 votes, male or female was the preferred choice of essentially 90% of those voters. So as a developer, why would you ever stray away from a base of male or female? It really seems like the obvious choice, and then there's other options for people who would prefer a Type A or Type B, and that would be to mod the game, especially for single player games. And that's what people are doing as a result of this remaster going with Type A and Type B. There was immediately mods coming out that allowed players to go with the traditional female and male options that existed in the original game. And I think that's something that's not really a crazy thing for people to want, and it's also a single player experience, so why would this mod be such a big deal? Although, like I said, it is interesting that it's the people who have the majority opinion who have to mod out this stuff instead of the minority who prefer Type A and Type B not having to go with a mod for this situation. But, of course, as with anything else, people were fuming about this mod existing. So you can see this tweet here saying, if Oblivion not having a male or female option bothers you so much that you need to download a mod, you are a very, very insecure human being. Well, if you see someone installing a mod on their single player experience and you feel mad enough to complain about it on social media, you might be the very insecure human being. And this all just tails back to who cares? That's the big hallmark of this whole thing. People saying, who cares if there's Type A, Type B? Well, clearly people cared enough to change something that was working. It wasn't broken. It was totally fine. The male and female options, they existed and now they're changed. And people are adjusting with their mods because they don't want to see it. And what's the big deal? Oh wait, people still complain about that. And of course, we're talking about Nexus Mods here, which is the largest modding community, and for lack of a better term, they're very woke, and they've made this very clear, okay? If you have wrong think with your mod, it's getting banned. That's the way it's been. However, people have been pushing back more and more over time, and of course, with this situation, it got banned. The body type, male or female modification here was banned within hours, and it was banned multiple times over the course of the next day or so. It was a big mess. And of course, if you look at this from a far back distance, you see all of the people who were defending this switch to Type A or Type 1 and Type 2, they said, who cares? It's not a big deal. Then people enhanced their single player experience with a harmless mod, and now they're screaming it must be banned. Just make it make sense. These people are very hypocritical about this stuff. But there's also a bit of a game-breaking element to this as well, as pointed out in this tweet. So I don't typically comment on body type nonsense because it helps no one, but Oblivion has a quest called the Siren's Deception that changes if you play as a female. But now you don't choose gender, you choose body type. So does this quest still exist, or did they change it? And down here's the full context. The quest has you investigating a group of women who rob men by seducing them. If you play as a woman, they try to cut you in. If you play as a man, they just try to seduce you. But I'm not a female according to vtuber. I'm a body type 2 or whatever, which is a very valid point to make here. Like, does this actually change the gameplay experience and the dialogue and the route this quest goes? I don't really know. But of course, people don't want to hear any sort of valid points being made. You can see some of the responses to that previous post saying, seems like nobody gives a shit and the game is breaking records. Pancakes waffles situation right here. When did they say this game is not doing well? They're just pointing out that this switch to type 1 and type 2 might actually break some of the gameplay in the story. And then here's another one saying, good, now play the effing game, weirdo, when they say it's fine, I'm just pointing out something that annoys me. Like, people are so hostile about this stuff, and when anyone dares to question some of these decisions that seemingly don't represent the majority opinion, or in this case, even cause some issues with the gameplay itself. But there was another unintended consequence of this, giving Nexus Mods the benefit of the doubt they probably don't deserve. There was also a Chinese translation of Oblivion that was nuked as a result of this, because the codes they're using come from the original 2006 release, and that includes male and female, which caused this mod to suffer as a result of the decisions of Nexus Mods. And that is a very bizarre one because, yeah, I mean, how do you explain this away? Is this the work of the bigots, the bigoted gamers? I think not. But of course, there was a W in this. Enough pressure was put on Nexus Mods, and they caved. It took a lot of people canceling their premium subscriptions and complaining about this on social media. But eventually, Nexus Mods, they threw in the towel, as PC Gamer says, and they have allowed this mod to exist once again. And, well, PC Gamer's pissed, and I love it. They see this body type with gender modification here get replaced or put back, and they're fuming. Let's read what they said here. One of the very, very small changes in Oblivion Remastered is the switch in the character creator from male and female bodies, as it was in the original, to body type 1 and body type 2. It's the sort of thing that would likely go entirely unnoticed were it not for the distressingly predictable explosion of outrage from the usual corners of the toxic gamerdom, and in short order, the creation of a mod that brought back the original male-female body options. This is very funny. Classic games journalism right here, saying this is a very, very, very small change, and then they make an entire article about people not liking it. Exactly. But of course, they're blaming the toxic gamers who are exploding in anger. Meanwhile, it's Nexus Mod who is coping, seething, and censoring people because they don't like this enhancement to the solo gaming experience. But, of course, Nexus Mod backing down, they're now promoting this body type selector mod and literally sharing it with people asking for it. I mean, what a turnaround, right? It was so bigoted and terrible, they had to take it down as soon as it went up, but now they're promoting it. Interesting. And this is actually a very bizarre situation where, yes, the mod is back, but they left this cringe community notice regarding this particular mod, and they also locked the comments. You can see this community manager saying this. This mod has been and likely will continue to be a source of controversy within the community. After a thorough review, we've determined that the content of the mod itself does not violate our community guidelines. However, due to the nature of the topic, which often attracts intense and sometimes hostile discussion, the comments section will remain locked to prevent further escalation. Why was the original upload removed? there has been a lot of speculation and misinformation regarding the removal of the original upload. To clarify, the mod was not taken down because of its content as stated in the ban notice. It was removed due to the uploader's behavior. In the comments, the uploader expressed an intent to incite drama and endorsed an external site explicitly designed to host inflammatory content. This behavior directly violates our community standards. We recognize that mods like this can bring sensitive discussions around gender and identity to the forefront. While these are important conversations, our platform exists to support creative expression in modding, not to serve as a battleground for broader cultural or political debates. What we will not tolerate is trolling, harassment, discrimination, or any other form of toxicity that these discussions may provoke. Yes, a whole lot of whining about a mod that literally just gives people the option to play as a female or a male. Yes, this gets toxic because you guys constantly censor these things and you make these things become a big deal, a bigger deal than they actually are. This mod was not that controversial. In reality, it's giving players what they had in the original game, and it gives them a more sensible and majority approved option of male or female, but then you get mad about it, censor people, and of course, it's going to lead to more toxicity. I mean, that's the result of doing this. But there's also something very funny to point out here. This mod in particular is now the most endorsed mod for the game on Nexus. Just like that. Yeah, again, to the people saying nobody really cares about this stuff, yes, they do. And if you're a developer of a game and you're watching this situation, how do you keep going with the Type 1 and Type 2 stuff? I mean, seriously, when the overwhelming majority of people clearly have a preference for male or female, and if people want to have mods that give them the Type 1 and Type 2 choices, cool, let them do it. But here, I don't know. Seems like the results are really speaking for themselves. And also, again, I'm glad to see DEG Mods here taking advantage of the situation to basically say, come to us. Because Nexus Mods, yikes, dude. They're insufferable. They're clearly working on an agenda, and they are very prone to censorship. So I'm glad to see someone else out there trying to do something to alleviate the mess that is the modding community and allowing players to mod their experience to the way they desire, especially in single-player experiences. How could you possibly justify banning a mod like this that we're talking about today in a single-player experience that literally does not affect anyone else playing the game other than the person who's using the mod, who's clearly and voluntarily using it for their own benefit? But that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.